I want to start with something that happened in January 2025. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, probably the most talented about company in the world right now, posted something that made a lot of investors quietly stop and think. He said, "Insane thing, we are currently losing money on OpenAI Pro subscription. People use it just more than we expected." Think about this for a second. Not slightly unprofitable, structurally unprofitable, which means the more people use it, the more money they lose. And yet, the company behind this is valued at around 500 billion or more. And I kept thinking about that. I kept really thinking about that. How does a company lose money on every customer and still become one of the most valuable companies in the world? And what makes this even stranger is that I've seen something like this before, actually in crypto. And what's happening right now feels very familiar. Welcome to the AI boom, where we went from a cool chatbot to a multi-trillion-dollar bet in just a couple of years, and where I think a lot of assumptions are still untested. November 30th, 2022, just a normal Wednesday. OpenAI released ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, the revolutionary new language model developed by OpenAI.
Not a big event, not a big marketing push, just a product release. Within 48 hours, people are using it everywhere, writing, coding, studying, even passing exams. Within 5 days, 1 million users. Within 2 months, 100 million users. That's even faster than anything we've seen before. Instagram took years to get there. TikTok took months. ChatGPT did it in weeks. And suddenly, Silicon Valley changed tone completely. Google, the company that actually helped invent the underlying technology, suddenly looked slow.
Google says it's launching its own artificial intelligence-powered chatbot to rival ChatGPT, which mimics human writing on demand.
They rushed out Bart. First public demo. It gave the wrong answer on stage, and the market reaction was immediate. Billion wiped off in value in a single day. Microsoft reacted differently. They invested heavily into OpenAI, billion upfront, with more commitment later. Amazon moved into Anthropic. Meta started restructuring internally. Every major tech company suddenly had an AI strategy. And then the money started flowing everywhere. Startup with no product, sometimes just an idea, and a slide deck were raising tens of millions. And that's when it started to feel familiar, because it has seen this exact pattern before in crypto. Project raised huge rounds on pure narrative. Some of them worked out, most didn't. Not because the idea was fake, just because expectation go ahead out of reality. Here is the part most people outside the industry don't fully understand. AI doesn't run on ideas, it runs on chips, it runs on GPUs. And once ChatGPT took off, those chips become one of the most competitive resources in tech. Nvidia is the company at the center of all this. They make the hardware powering most of today's AI system, and very quickly, they stopped being just an AI chip company. They become the bottleneck of the entire industry. A top-tier H100 GPU costs about $3 an hour to rent. A serious AI system doesn't just use one chip, it uses hundreds. At peak demand, waiting time of these chips reach out to a year, and it's crazy. Supply simply couldn't keep up, and Nvidia valuation crossed 3 billion. At that point, you're not really looking at a normal company anymore. You're looking at infrastructure that entire industry depend on it. And I keep asking myself one specific question. If this is what it costs just to run the system, where is the money coming from? I wanted to understand the actual economics behind all of this. OpenAI reportedly generated around 3.7 billion in revenue in 2024, but also reportedly losses at around 5 billion. So even at a massive scale, they are still not profitable. And pricing decisions like ChatGPT Plus at a $20 a month weren't even fully optimized in a traditional sense. They were tested and adjusted based on usage and feedback. Now let's zoom out a little bit. Multiple major forecasts suggest that building on AI infrastructure will require trillions of dollars over the coming years. Trillion in chips, data center, and compute infrastructure. At the same time, the largest tech companies in the world are spending hundreds of billions per year just to stay in the race. Costs are measured in trillions. Revenues are still measured in billions. And the gap is still here. To close it, the industry will need to reach something like 2 trillion in annual revenue within the next few years. Right now, it's nowhere near that. Not even close. Now here where it's getting interesting. Because some of the pressure is starting to show up inside real companies, Microsoft, one of the biggest investors in AI, reportedly told internal teams to stop using Cloud Code. It's crazy, right? Not because it wasn't good, but because at scale, the usage becomes too expensive, even for Microsoft. So they actually started shifting teams back towards their own tool to control cost. And this is super interesting here. And that tells you something important. Even the biggest companies in the world are now actively managing AI usage based on cost, not just a capability. And a company like Anthropic are reportedly preparing for public listing, which means the next stage of this cycle is already starting. Public market, IPO pricing, real valuation pressure, because one of these companies go public, expectations stop being only internal, they become visible. If the number doesn't fully make sense yet, why hasn't anything broken? The answer is incentives. Nobody wants to slow down first. Because if AI becomes the next foundational layer of technology, the company that hesitates risks failing permanently behind. So everyone keeps spending. Microsoft spent, Google spent, Meta spent, Amazon spent, not because they're all sure of their returns, but because they're afraid of stopping too early. And that's creates a strange situation. Everyone knows it's expensive, but nobody wants to be the first to reduce exposure. Historically, systems like this don't collapse at once. They change when one of the three things happen. Money tightens, confidence breaks, or one major player slows down. And right now, we're starting to see early sign of pressure, not collapse, but just tensions. I want to bring this back to something I know well. In crypto cycle, we are seeing this pattern before. But the interesting thing is this. The technology usually survives. Bitcoin survived 2017, Ethereum survived 2021, but speculation around it didn't. I think AI will follow a similar path. The technology is real, the infrastructure is real, but the pricing of everything around it is still being figured out in real time. And the gap between reality and expectation is where most of the volatility usually comes from. So, where does this leave us? The AI boom is real, the spending is real, the losses are real, but the long-term value of the technology is also real. And both of those things can exist at the same time. What matters now is understanding the difference between what is being built and what is being priced in. Because these two things are not always aligned. And when they eventually converge, that's usually when things getting interesting. I will keep tracking how this unfolds here as it develops and see you in the next one. Bye.